So let's look at the actual zoning of the two parcels on the one title. So Cameron, can you walk us through some of this zoning?
Sure. There's two different zones here. The agricultural portion is an agricultural, it's called in Abbotsford Agricultural 2 zone. It's a pretty standard zone that allows you to build a home, do agriculture, nothing exciting. You could do agritourism, this kind of stuff, but nothing really unusual. You could do a winery. Probably not very viable in this location, though. It's not. It doesn't have the exposure. It's tucked down a small road. And then the other zoning is a rural residential zone. In this case, rural residential allows agricultural use is pretty much allowed everywhere. Residential care use, uh, resource processing because it's a rural zone. So you could maybe do a small sawmill or something up there. Single detached dwelling. You could do supportive housing. You can also do a coach house, which is interesting because that's as an accessory use. You could do a bed and breakfast. But probably the most relevant here is that you would, on the hillside like that, you would go and put a single family home in with a coach house with a suite in it that would give you basically two families to live in one lot. So, and also in the zoning, we can see the setbacks, the parcel size is going to be always shown. That's the minimum parcel size. Sometimes they'll show dimensions, minimum dimensions on the parcel size, and height restrictions is all the stuff that normally comes in the zone. In this case, parcels can be with the existing zone parcels can be up to 4 hectares, so about 10 acres, just right around 10 acres, and then which means that we could create potentially 4 lots on the non-residential, so non-farm side of the property. Okay, so every city is going to have different zoning. They all like to pass. It's a local issue. It's locally passed by city council or regional district, and so as you're working in different cities, you're going to get to know the different zones, get familiar with them, and then you can look at what's possible. Of course, generally when you're dealing with properties, there may be the possibility to rezone to something else. In this case, an RR zone could maybe be changed to a smaller lot size, but this property, because of the terrain that comes with it, there's only so many building sites available on it. So I don't think that rezoning this property makes any sense. Just the larger lots probably is a good way to use up the available land area. Does that make sense, Jeff? This is the ALR map, the green being the ALR. Okay. So, Jeff, what can be done with this property, do you think?
Well, one of the interesting things we've got to talk about first is access.
Yeah. So
And
let's talk about access. This thing has
one of
easy
the
access.
things is it has railroad access, and that is an interesting idea because the property. So again, the title we're looking at is up here, and we can actually see that there is a spur line already one title over, and so um, there is a potential to utilize this property as the agricultural portion as a railroad using business. So something that is industrial in nature, food,
It
ag,
would need to be agro-industrial in nature, right,
um,
for that to get approved. But it possibly could. We
agro
might be able to get it
industrial.
for
So it has
agro-industrial
to
type
be
use.
specific to uh, pet food production, something like that nature.
Feed mill, something like
But
that.
that is an opportunity that, because of the railway, makes this interesting.
Yeah.
The other portion of it is we can see that there's road dedication coming through the other titles. So Old Yale Road comes down from the south and allows you to come right up to our property that we're looking at. So that is an interesting idea, and we can actually see that there's dedication. So again, we're now looking at our property down here, and we can see road dedication all the way up to the north as well. So when we were first looking at this, we said, oh, you might have to try to figure out access across the railway. And there's an existing access point that either tractors or ATVs have been going over. But when we started looking at the maps and figuring out that there's road dedication, that is definitely an opportunity to develop with roadway that could come into that property.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when we were
So
walking up
when we
there. I
talk
said,
about what could be done, we think about. Go ahead, Cameron.
as we say, we were walking up there. We went up this trail and we hit this north-south trail on a little bit of a bench, and I said, this might be an old roadway. Maybe it's Old Yale Road. And when we went back to the mapping, sure enough, Old Yale Road. And so Old Yale Road is one of the very first roads that were built through the Fraser Valley, going from New Westminster all the way up to the gold fields at Yale, BC. And this was the wagon road or horseback that people would ride on to get to get up to the what's now a small town of Yale. But at the time, when Yale was founded, it was one of the largest cities north of San Francisco. And so it was very fascinating to walk down this path that hasn't changed much since the 1870s, 1860s when it was first built.
Yeah, 1862 was a rough trail.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's not much more than that now. It's growing back, but it was so well traveled that still in pretty good shape. And you could comfortably ride a horse or an ATV down this trail. And it's so there's Old Yale Road. You find Old Yale Road in other parts of the Lower Mainland
yeah.
all over the place, but in a lot of cases it's paved. It's now
So
highways. It's
looking from drone
huge
footage,
highways and stuff. But yeah, the drone footage is here. Okay.
it's hard to see any kind of passageway with all the forest, and developing an actual road for cars could be difficult here. But the you can see where on the title next door, we'll mark it here. This would be right where the road dedication goes through, next to the railroad.
Yeah.
So that would be a tough road to build, but from the
But
north it looks a little easier.
it's right
But
next to the railroad, but
definitely an interesting
it's also way above the
finding out
railroad.
about
It's part of the
history and
line.
how that trail. Yeah, the existing road is actually, we thought we were probably closer up here
Yeah.
when we walked it. So when we really look at this property, there's definitely potential. We know lots can go for 800 to $1 million. Is that enough meat on the bone for a property like this? Possibly. The
Yeah. And the agricultural
changing of
section.
titles, the could add a
Yes,
bunch of
Jeff,
money too,
you got
right?
probably maybe up to 4 residential lots, 10-acre lots up the hill, 10 plus acre lots, and then you got this 18 acres of farmland. and you could, if you get that separated away from the